Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Mr. Milton Taylor. So, Milton, why don't we just start right at the very beginning and talk about you're a Saskatoon born and raised?
Correct. I was born in the first half of the century, just barely. But anyways, I've been in Saskatoon pretty well all my life. I was born and raised in North Park. My father, my grandfather, my uncle, my brother all worked for the Robin Hood Flour Mill. So we grew up at 33rd Street. So I don't live at Imagery, which is about a block away as a crow flies. So I haven't gone far in life, but it is on the other side of the tracks. So I think that's okay. I went grade school, high school here. One year up north in the North Shore of Lac La Ronge, working in a copper mine. So I went to university for a while. I majored in bridge and photography, taking pictures of the sheet for $2. And I said, I like this photography thing. So reapplied to photography school, went to school in Edmonton. I graduated a long time ago from there. I worked for F11. I worked with Gene Torrey. He took a chance on me, and I'd like to comment on Gene right now because he's probably one of the best photographers ever been in the city. Pretty amazing guy. He's retired. His wife is smarter than he is. I took him 2 provinces away so he could spend time with the grandchildren. And that's my granddaughter right here. So Ella, isn't she gorgeous?
Yeah. I was gonna actually say, that's pretty good for a guest to bring pictures like that because you know it's a win. If you got a baby like that, all the girls are like, oh.
The gray hair means I got wisdom or something like that. That's fair.
How did you end up getting out on your own, and what was your focus originally? Because I'm sure being a photographer but also owning your own business, it's not like it's just a guaranteed paycheck. So how did that start?
Well, when I started, it was in '77. I had worked for F11 for a while, and I had left there and went and managed the DAVS unit at Department of Audiovisual Services at the university, and realized I was getting an ulcer working for the government, so I decided to jump back into what I like to do, and I wanted to prove to myself that I was capable of photographer, so I wanted to build a studio. And you got to remember 1977 that when you did wedding photography, you used to have things like a Hasselblad, a medium format camera. So, because 35 millimeters didn't cut it, so you had to have the knowledge and you had to have the training. And of course, I'm being a graduate from photography school because I had that. So I did that because I really wanted to prove that to myself more than anyone that I could do this job. So now, of course, it's totally changed, but we'll get into that maybe a little later. When you have an entrepreneurial theme or idea or skill or whatever, to me, what's really important is that you follow your heart. I have a little sign that says, it's a picture of a golf course, which is one of my major hobbies, and it says, passion. Many things in life will catch your eye. If you catch your heart, pursue those. So if you're not happy in what you're doing, don't do it. Life is way too short. I have some very close friends that are going through a really bad time in their life right now, and I hate to say it's not good for any of them, and it's really tough. I'm getting a little numb from it all. So I have a pin here on that I made up. It's called Treasure Life, and to me it's all about it. So follow your heart, and maybe I'm getting off topic.
In fairness,
See, I am off topic.
Well, you know what? Anybody that's come to Chamber on Tap more than once knows it's rarely on topic.
Free beer, I know. They didn't come to see me, did they?
No, they came for the shrimp.
Okay.
So, 77, you start doing your business in the early 80s. What was the business landscape like in Saskatoon?
So the climate in the late 70s was good. I did everything. I'd cross the street to make $1 and everything else. In '79, I was lucky enough to take on a partner, and we had a partnership with Terry Jabush. He's retired now, he's living out in Victoria, but he was a partner for 20 years. And if any of you know about partnerships, Professor Dart from the University of Saskatchewan told me when he, and the rest of the class, that when he put up a picture of a ship sinking, he says, that's called a partnership. So we managed, in fact, I was just at his house on the weekend in Victoria, so I guess we're getting along, and that's great. That's a good thing to say. It's always good to not burn a bridge when you leave. It's always good to have a happy ending, because that usually makes a happy beginning, and that can be applied to life and to marriages and other things too. So there's your counseling session. So I want you to all buy me a beer and we are just kidding.
So business sounded like it was pretty good in the 80s, sinking ships and all.
Well, we went through, maybe Kent is here, I know he's a steel trap for mine and those kind of things, but we went through a pretty serious depression in the 80s, and people were falling like crazy. But you know what? I got to where I am now, and that's behind you. Always, you learn things. If you go back, I always prefer to look at it this way. When you're driving down the road, your windshield is large and your rear view mirror is small. The rear view mirror is very important because you need to look back and make sure everything's safe and everything else is thing, but it's not your priority focus. Your focus is through the windshield.
So in the 80s, you kind of mentioned that there was a bit of depression, like a bit of a downturn in our economy. Usually in a downturn in the economy, the first things that go are kind of the luxury items, like the big family portraits, stuff like that. So how did a photographer get through that? Did that cause you to diversify? Were you only doing weddings before that and then started doing corporate stuff? Like, talk a bit about...
Sure. Well, you actually want some meat now. When I started in business, wedding industry was huge because there was, again, there wasn't anybody out there that could take a picture that could afford a Hasselblad. And you had to deal with the negatives and retouch the negatives and send them to the thing and color corrections and everything else. So it was a lot of work involved. When we were doing weddings, that was the mainstay of the business, and the banker used to phone every now and then. You got our deposit, so things were pretty tight. But you did what you had to do. You go out, you beat bushes, you do what you have to do. You go find some contracts and you go and do them. Our attitude has been, and I don't know how much it's more now than it was then, because I think I've gotten time to think about it. But you have a client, and if you don't look after your client, somebody else will. So look after your client, and also put it in the hands that would I accept this? Would I pay money for this? And if you wouldn't pay money for that or wouldn't accept it, then don't turn it out that way. Turn it out the proper way. And then the next thing is you have a chance to touch someone's life in my profession, because I capture memories. I mean, it's amazing. So you got a chance to do that, so don't mess it up. Do it properly. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Try to listen more than you speak. That's a tough one for me, but I try to do that when you can. So when we were going through the 80s, when the economy was faltering, we just did what we had to do to make it work, and we got through it. So we've had recessions and depressions, and after 38 years, I'm still plugging along. I'm a little more choosy now. When I'm doing a wedding, it's definitely the hand glove feeling. The bride has to be happy with me, and I have to be happy with the bride. So the glove has to fit the hand, and the hand has to fit the glove. So backwards. So that's really important to me. And if it's not going to be something that we can do, and if there's someone else that could do it, then we will be first to point it out till they should go somewhere else to get it done. I'm not trying to say I won't do anything. We've had people come in. Actually, this portrait right here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's special. Maybe you could pick that up and show it to him.
Sure. Okay, sure. Hey, Milt, thank you so much for having me on the show. Okay, hold on. So this is the first for me. Let me get my Vanna White out.
A cute Vanna, isn't he? So this was taken on Christmas Eve, 2015. The gentleman phoned me. It was actually his wife phoned me and said that I've been referred to by my friend John Waddington, who's sitting back there over there, that up till yesterday had phase 2, and he's now totally retired and there's no more phase 2. So John, we're going to miss you, by the way. So we went and I got a referral to this couple, and the gentleman, if you can see, he was sitting in a wheelchair, and he had a stroke, and he really wanted their 50th anniversary picture, which was at Christmas time, to be done outside. And of course, the 23rd, I don't know if you remember, that was the most beautiful day in Saskatoon's history. The hoarfrost was about this thick, and I was out shooting an engagement session that day, so that was really priceless. So they met with me on the 23rd, talked about it. Long story short, I'll bet it in. He wanted a picture standing, and of course, he's had a stroke, so he had a walker and everything else, and a wheelchair. So it was really difficult to get the shot, and so we did what we could to get the image, and then I take about 6 photographs here that I like, and that's one of them.
I feel like is there anything else you want to talk about, Bill?
Are you married?
I am married. Actually, I was just talking about that. It's my 15-year anniversary this summer.
Well, congratulations.
Take that. I think it's been hard doing Chamber on Tap once a month for like 6 years. Imagine my wife. In Milton, of course, you brought out your tie, but what about, I've never seen someone wear 3 totally different patterns. That's incredible.
Well, when you shop at the Army Navy, what do you get, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is casual. They told me I could wear this.
No, it looks good. I wasn't saying.
Well, they probably wouldn't have recommended the tie, but if I'm here telling you a story, then the tie is there for a reason, because when I photograph a 3-year-old in a wedding party, I have to get down to their level, and the quicker I get to their level, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah.
So I've had to do some pretty strange things with these 3-year-olds to get them to be inhumane. Some people say, how do they get them like that? Well, they're like the dogs that come in the studio. They don't cooperate. I throw them in the freezer for 10 minutes. They slow right down. Everything's just fine. But with a 3-year-old, you got to get to their level. So sometimes I have to bribe them. So you it used to be a quarter. Now it's a toonie underneath the show. And don't move your foot. You can keep it. So that's always worked. And of course, now Photoshop is the kid can be not having a good day because he's usually too young. And there's too much excitement, and he's got no sleep the night before, and someone fed him a whole bunch of sugar. So guess what we're going to have here? We're having a train wreck. So what you do is you just get one good shot, and you tease, you jump up and down, you have your puppets, and I always work with an assistant because I don't have to worry about being shaky on camera, and I use a tripod. Grant, you use a tripod, don't you? And not right now.
I've lost 3 of them.
Shouldn't gamble so much. So anyways, we do that, and of course they entertain the kids, and they'll look at this and they'll laugh and they'll get their attention. Because when you're 6'2", you look down on them and say, "Oh, he's a monster." They really know me.
So far, the way you've described your wedding photography is incredible. O.J. Simpson trial, gloves got a fit, and a train wreck. So is there any ladies here doing a wedding this summer? Milton is available.
That's right. Any of you are single.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, I did a wedding that you photographed this summer. I don't know if you remember that. By the
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
And
how was I? Was I sober?
was I?
No.
Yeah. No. I remember Milton doing the photo like during the wedding, which is unintrusive if you're just walking around. Then at the end, they wanted a photograph with all of the family and the people in the wedding, and of course the Reverend. So I'm standing there, okay. And all of a sudden Milton pulls out a ladder. Like, where did you get that ladder from? It was a big ladder too. I was like, where did Milton get this ladder? And he climbs up and he's yelling at us with his Daffy Duck. And I was the kid apparently, because you gave me a toonie and told me I didn't have much sleep, and I did have a lot of sugar. How did business get to where it is today for you?
It goes back to basics. I mean, the chip in your camera is just a tool. It's a memory thing. So it was a piece of film. So that still hasn't changed. The important thing is your relationship you build with people, and you got to make people feel comfortable when you take your picture, because about 65% of you apparently don't like having your picture taken. And about 25% you don't care, and about 10% really like to have their picture taken. So you gotta. The first time a client told me when I was in photography school that he didn't like the pictures, I was wounded. I thought maybe I'd go become a dishwasher, but I challenged them through it, and I realized after that they didn't like themselves the way they looked. So I had to figure out a way to make sure they look as good as they can. And again, that's where you know, the lighting properly and everything else. I have a studio, and that's an important element to making a good image, because I have control of the light, and photographers are control freaks, right, Grant?
Yes.
Good answer. But so you need to, if you're being asked to take a portrait, someone's paying you money, then you have to get in charge. You have to become in charge. You can't be obnoxious and anything else. You should try not to be, anyways. But what you want to do is make sure you get that image, and you work with them, you meet with them ahead of time, you talk about stuff, and so now everything is with consultation. It's maybe the old way of doing it. I know the young people really like to have instant gratification and see the image right away. I mean, me too, because I use my camera, my laptop as a Polaroid. I mean, I get to see it right away. I know if I have to adjust the light, I do that. I know if they're not standing properly, so you can do that. So the world in photography, if I can get into this just for a second, has changed. Nothing wrong with change. Change is wonderful. It's part of life. If you don't like change, you're in trouble. So, like change. But in our world, the young people don't have much education in terms of photography. A lot of them are self-taught. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. The ones that get involved in it and do it good, like Grant does, very good, very successful photographer, award-winning photographer. Do you know where that Grant Romance is, an award-winning photographer? And you never see him on a stepladder. The important thing is again, looking after your customer. So I'm very blessed. Betty's been with me for, I think, into her 26th year, and Brenda's 20 years. And she's a graduate from photography school like I am. And so we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun at work, sometimes too much. So we try to be careful of that. But when it's time to work, we work, and we make sure we look after our customer. Again, going back to that image over here, it tells me that we're doing things right. The other two images, one over there is family. They're real huge Ryder fans. So Betty said, let's do a black and white with selective color. So we made the green jerseys and everything else is black and white. And there's probably 3 or 4 head this in that image, because the kids this was the end of the section, and they were ready for cartoons and Kool-Aid. And so we managed to get the image, but of course the title was mine, Not Easy Being Green, because I'm a long-suffering Ryder fan. And of course the image right beside it, that tells you about being in the right spot at the right time. So you got to keep your eyes open, you got to keep looking at all times. She wanted a picture with her beautiful car, and she wanted to leave. And the day when I phoned her, I said, it's today, and it happened real quick, and we got a really beautiful image. And again, that's on metallic paper, so does this one. And that's like a brand new world of photography as far as I'm concerned.
I know in the art, it's unique to Saskatchewan in the sense that businesses are pretty cooperative. Like, I've heard this hundreds of times with business people that are coming up in business, that they talk to a senior business person and really mentored them on the way. How is it in the photography world? Because I know, like, in the music world, it's a bit more like, oh, they're not good, or I'm the best, you're not good. And it's rare to have this community of support. And then I see you singing praises of Grant Romancia. And I'm wondering, is that common in the photography world in Saskatoon? Is there support, or is it competition? Is it dog eat dog?
Well, Grant is a member of the Professional Photographers of Canada, like myself. And so we have a bond. And we go to a lot of training things together, and we all work together, even though we're called so-called competition. I got rid of that thing about competition a long time ago, and I got rid of judgment. I tried to get rid of judgment a long time ago. I do assess personalities and I have to take them, but I try not to judge them. But what's really important is that you're better off in a community of photographers, because everyone here has a camera, so you're a photographer. I don't think you can charge $160 an hour for it like I do, but good luck if you can. But the point is that you have the camera's there as a tool. So what's really important about the camera is the first 6 inches right behind the camera. That's the most important element of a camera. And so by being in a professional organization, you're looking after the client properly, you're looking after, you're doing the things you're supposed to do in life, and you know, it's a profession. I mean, you just Google Saskatoon photographers. There's about 400, right, Grant? Maybe 500 in there? And some of them will do your whole thing and give you the images and charge you $29 and spend 3 hours with you. Well, you can't make a living at that. And that's not my competition. Okay, my son, both my boys are here, Scotty and Darby. And Scotty who sells Mercedes-Benz, he's my competition. He's a general manager. And my son Darby, he's a bistro manager at Federated Co-op. And I'm his customer. I like to eat. Anyways, but what the point is that you be a professional about it, and that professional manner is that you look after the clients properly, you treat it right, you don't turn it out unless it's done right, you do all those things.
Obviously, business has been allowed you to leverage into a lot of community support. I know, actually, the first time I ever saw you was you were volunteering some time for some chamber events. You've always been involved with the community. So, why is that important to you, and what are you involved with, and how has that been a part of your business? I'd like to hear a bit more about that.
In 1975, I joined the Powell City Kinsman Club. I was going to join the other club, but they met every Monday, and I didn't want to be that involved. So I went for every other Wednesday instead. And I really enjoyed Kinsman because it was doing something for the community, and it was just cool. It was cool, and it gets in your blood. And of course, during the way when you're in Kinsman, some people join the club and they're going to get business out of it. Well, those people don't last too long in Kinsman or Kiwanis or anywhere else, because you don't join a club for that. You join it because you want to make a difference in the world. My mother had a grade 3 education, single mom. I was raised single all my life, pretty well, and she said, and I mean, she was pretty smart and a hard worker. She used to say, you know, leave the world a better place than you can find it, than you found it. And to me, that's always been something I've been thought of. And now, because of the fact that I've been focusing my energy now a little more on the community, because I guess I've got into that. I've been on many boards and I've volunteered many times. And to me, what is important is that someone asked me why I did it, and I said, I don't know, I just do it. I mean, you know, we live in such a beautiful community here. Saskatchewan is incredible. It's no mosquitoes at 41 below, which I always think it's important to remember the elements. But you know, it's a really, really good place to live, and it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, we have really strong values here. We don't see snowstorms where people are pushing people into cars, but if you have one tomorrow, you'll see somebody downtown, maybe 3 people pushing on a car, and that's what it's all about. The community's been excellent to me and to Imagery, and it's been good to everybody. So by giving back, you give, you get. It's that simple. I mean, everybody knows that in this room.
Yeah, my dad's a reverend and a man I respect more than most people in my life. And he's always said, and I'll change it slightly for the context, but it means the same thing. We only have one life, this too shall pass. Only what's done for people will last. And that stuck with me as a kid. And you realize things happen, like you said, you have friends that are dealing with some things. There's a friend here that's dealt with some stuff. Life is not forever. And that's what I've always appreciated about the community in Saskatoon is we, like you said, you treasure your life, but you also understand that the only thing that's going to last is what we invested in people's lives for the generations coming up. So it's incredible. Hey, are you bestowed? Like, I feel like you're getting knighted.
I don't think so.
Hold on, Grant. I got a double chin on that one. I was gonna say I'd hold your mic, but not now. No. Best night of your life. Thank you so much, Milton.
You're a reverend son, are you? Okay.
Yeah, 5th generation reverend son. Take that.
Oh.
The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. Don't forget that, ladies.
If you want me to sing, they'll leave real quick.
Yeah, exactly. They are leaving. Anyway. So, This has been incredible, but before we wrap up, I want to, before we open it up to some questions to the crowd, where do you see the community going now? Because we've obviously had a big, I don't want to use the word boom, but we've had some growth. Now it's stabilizing a bit. Where do you see the opportunity? Where do you see the province going? Where do you see the city and the community going in the future?
Not speaking politically, but we were in a bad spot for many years because we dealt with the status quo being status quo, and that was what we should accept. There's so many bright, young, intelligent people and older people in this community and in this room. The sky's the limit. It's your oyster. Go pluck it and go have fun with it. It's amazing. By giving back to the community, you work as a group. You feel good about it. Every time you have a chance to be a positive, and believe me, being a photographer with negatives all my life, I know a negative when I see one. I haven't used that one for a while. Every time you have a chance to tell a positive story, it rubs off on people. Success breeds success. So I'm happy when Grant Romancy wins awards. I'm happy when F11 wins awards or does something good and gets a big contract. I'm happy when Regina gets a new upgrader or something and they become better. You know, Regina's a great place. Okay, I'll work on that one with you.
I think they can edit, you guys can edit out the crickets and tumbleweed, right?
Wascana's gorgeous. Just be careful where you walk. There's a lot of geese around there. But that too is fertilizer. So the community is wonderful. I mean, there's new things happening all the time. I mean, you know, when you buy a laptop, I just replaced my personal one, and I can't believe the difference in 5 years in a laptop. It's just like night and day. So, and I'm not, I wouldn't say that, the girls are quick to tell you that I'm not the most enlightened people on electronics, but I figure out a way and I make it work and go from there. But the community is there and being involved. I'm on the board with Karen Sharon, our executive directors here, so I thought I'd plug that in case you want to make a donation. We'll take it. That's the one board I left on, and I'm not going to go unless...
We're going to pass around the offering plate.
Okay. Yeah. Sandy Melton's our executive director, does a great job. We work with the 17 community schools and some satellite schools as well, perimeter schools, and we try to make a difference to them because education is the only way they're going to break the cycle. And to me, that's really imperative. It's really imperative.
So, Milton, honestly, it was a pleasure. And I know I joked ahead of time that I always say that about guests, but you were a great guest. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Really